Bombshell tonight in the Nolan Wells investigation. Tonight, the timeline seemingly blows up. This as Nolan's mother is investigated. Why? And tonight, possibly even more important, where is Nolan's phone? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells.
A Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Pretty certain Nolan Wells was part of a group that was, quote, almost fighting around 5 p.m.
A single image captures the tension, a boat speeding away from Horn Island at dusk, leaving behind a mystery that refuses to clear. Nolan Wells, a young man whose disappearance has gripped a community, vanished after boarding that vessel. But why did he not return with his friends? And more urgently, where is Nolan's phone? Bombshell tonight in the Nolan Wells investigation. Tonight, the timeline seemingly blows up this as Nolan's mother is investigated. Why? And tonight, possibly even more important, where is Nolan's phone? Good evening. Thus, we want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. A Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Pretty certain Nolan Wells was part of a group that, quote, almost fighting 500 p.m. I'm on site finding out YA music, everybody back to the mainland except Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells' story begins a summer outing on the Mississippi coast. On that day, Nolan joined a group of acquaintances on a boat trip to Horn Island. Witnesses place Nolan around 5 p.m., involved in what some describe as a heated exchange among the group. Shortly after, several boats left the island, but Nolan's boat returned without him. The timeline fractures here, raising questions no one has yet answered fully.
I don't think they've cooperated at all. They do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department has it. So how can you say that there's text missing or there's photographs missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back to Christine and her friends later that night. So anything about missing text messages or Snapchats is completely false.
Big question. That is Tyler Cox representing the so-called friends of Nolan on Horn Island. And if he's claiming that no one see the phone, how does he know that something's not missing? So that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Let's hear that one more time from our friend Dan Abrams.
I don't think they've cooperated at all. They do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department has it. So how can you say that there's text missing or there's photographs missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back to Christine and her friends later that night. So anything about...
I don't think they've cooperated at all. They do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department has it. So, how can you say that there's text missing or there's photographs missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back to Christine and her friends later that night. So, anything about missing text messages or Snapchats is completely false. Nolan's mother, Christine Wells, has become a focal point as investigators probe the circumstances. Publicly, she has expressed confusion and frustration about the handling of Nolan's phone, a device that could hold critical clues. According to statements made by legal representatives of Nolan's friends who were on the boat, the phone was never in their possession beyond the night of the outing. Tyler Cox, attorney for these young men, asserts no tampering occurred, denying claims of missing texts or photographs.
That's a veteran trial lawyer. That is Tyler Cox. He's representing the young men that were on the boat that took Nolan to Horn Island and came back without Nolan, according to them. Joining me in all-star panel, I'm not saying Cox is right or wrong, but what I am saying out to Brandon Tatum. Tatum, former police officer, Tucson, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube. He has interviewed Nolan's acquaintances that were on the boat that day. Officer Tatum, thank you for being with us. Let me talk about this one moment. We've got so much to get to. I'm going to try to be brief.
That's a veteran trial lawyer. That is Tyler Cox, representing the so-called Friends of Nolan on Horn Island. And if he's claiming that no one's seen the phone, how does he know? Then something's not missing. So that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Let's hear that one more time from our friend Dan Abrams. I don't think they've cooperated at all. They do not have Nolan's phone. They haven't had access to Nolan's phone. Yet, the question lingers. If the phone was not with the friends, who currently holds it? And why has it not been made available to law enforcement for forensic analysis?
To Nolan's phone. Well, can't they subpoena that? It's called a subpoena ducis tecum. You're familiar with those. You've testified in court. A subpoena ducis tecum is, we hear about subpoenas for testimony. I've been subpoenaed. Yes, go to court and tell the truth. A subpoena ducis tecum is for an item, an object, a document. The sheriff can give out a subpoena ducis tecum or get a warrant for an object. So, you don't have it? Fine, get it. Next. So, how can you say, I'm quoting, how can you say there's no text message or photo, as a text message or photos missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with Nolan's phone other than give it back. So seeing anything about missing texts or Snapchats completely false.
Well, can't they subpoena that? It's called a subpoena ducium. You're familiar with those. You've testified in court. A subpoena ducis tecum is we hear about subpoenas for testimony. I've been subpoenaed. Yes, go to court and tell the truth. A subpoena ducis tecum is for an item, an object, a document. The sheriff can give out a subpoena ducis tecum or get a warrant for an object. So you don't have it. Fine, get it next. So how can you say I'm quoting, how can you say there's no text message or photo as a text message or photos missing? Our boys had no reason to do anything with no one's phone other than give it back. So seeing anything about missing text or snapshots, chat's completely false. Officer Brandon Tatum, a former police officer and commentator familiar with the case, sheds light on procedural aspects. He explains that law enforcement can obtain a subpoena ducis tecum or warrant to seize items like phones if deemed necessary. However, as of the latest information, Nolan's phone has not been handed over to authorities. The family's legal team stated they are prepared to cooperate, but have not yet done so. This lack of cooperation raises eyebrows and fuels speculation on both sides.
That there was nothing sent out while Nolan was at Horn Island, which she found very odd. I have no reason to disbelieve her. So how can you say there were missing or there weren't missing? I don't think you can say it either way. Why don't they just get a search warrant and go get the phone? You know what? Forget all that. Officer Tatum, where is Nolan's phone? Do authorities have it?
Well, from my understanding, authorities do not have it, and the family have not been cooperating with authorities to give the phone over. According to the testimony or written statement from the lawyer that represents the family, the Nolan Wells family, he had made mention that he's prepared to cooperate, but they have not cooperated yet, which is very interesting to me. You want to find out what happened to your son. You would think you will be doing everything you can to cooperate. I can't judge her. I don't know what's in their mind, but it just seems to be very off-putting for them not to at least give the phone over and do what exactly they told the world they were going to do.
Well, according to the mom, Officer Tatum, she says that there was nothing sent out while Nolan was at Horn Island, which she found very odd. I have no reason to disbelieve her. So how can you say there were missing or there weren't missing? I don't think you can say it either way. Why don't they just get a search warrant and go get the phone? You know what? Forget all that. Officer Tatum, where is Nolan's phone? Do authorities have it? Well, from my understanding, authorities do not have it. The family have not been cooperating with authorities to give the phone over. The absence of Nolan's phone complicates efforts to reconstruct his last hours. Digital forensic expert Heather Barnhart weighs in, highlighting modern capabilities in data recovery.
Tyler Cox is very clear about what he's saying, that the boys had nothing to do with it. So if there is anything missing from the phone, it had nothing to do with them. Now, I'll add this. When you look at what Christine said.
Brandon, whoa, I'm going to go right back to what you're saying, but you're saying a lot, and I want to address each thing so we don't leave anything out. Number one, you just stated that, basically. Correct me, you can paraphrase this any way you want to. It looks really bad for Nolan's family not to hand over the phone. Do you have any independent knowledge they have not handed over the phone?
According to their lawyer that wrote a statement, and the statement was, we're prepared to cooperate, but that was as of the 11th. Therefore, they have not cooperated. Tyler Cox has made mention that he don't believe they cooperated whatsoever. He don't believe they cooperated whatsoever as well. So
extrapolating, you're taking the words, Tatum, that their words that they're prepared to cooperate to mean they haven't handed over the phone. Isn't that true?
I'm putting everything together, right? We have Tyler Cox that's coming out and saying that he has no indication whatsoever they've cooperated. The family has not come out and said that there's any findings. And then also the attorney that represents the family is saying that we haven't sent or gave the phone over, but we're willing to. And that was as of the 11th.
No,
so it appears that there's no indication that.
Brandon, you may very well be a lot smarter than me, but I can hear. Okay. The statement was, we're prepared to cooperate, I guess from Crump. That does
I'm not sure if it was.
We have not handed over the phone, but we will.
Well, Nancy, when you put it all, you have to put the totality of circumstance together. I'm not there to be in the room with the investigators to determine, but I'm just going off of what knowledge we have and that's been given to us that's available. And what Tyler Cox is saying, and I'm taking him at his word, he's saying that there's no indication that they've cooperated. The lawyers that represent the family is saying we're prepared, but they did not say that they've cooperated whatsoever. So I'm looking at the statements that are produced, and all of the statements indicate that there has not been a cooperation with the phone being extracted from investigators.
I'm just going off of what knowledge we have, and that's been given to us, that's available. And what Tyler Cox is saying, and I'm taking him at his word, he's saying that there's no indication that they've cooperated. The lawyers that represent the family is saying we're prepared, but they did not say that they cooperated whatsoever. Barnhart underscores that even if physical access is lacking, much data may be stored in cloud services, but stresses physical access is crucial to uncover deleted files.
It doesn't matter. To Heather Barnhart joining us, digital forensics expert with Celebrite. We learned all about Celebrite during the Alex Murdaugh trial. That's how we got everything off of his dead, murdered son's phone. And the SANS Institute, SANS. She is one of the preeminent digital forensic experts in the country. She helped crack the Brian Kohberger case, and she is co-author of Practical Mobile Forensics, now in its 4th edition. That means that many people have used it. Heather, thank you for being with us. If the phone, I don't care where it is. Okay, actually, I do care where it is. I want to know that it's been handed over. I don't have to have the phone to know what's on the phone if it's in the cloud. It looks like an iPhone to me. So my argument with Officer Tatum is academic. It doesn't matter if I can get it from the cloud. So Nolan's phone missing. So what? I can download it. I can get it.
Data will exist in the cloud if he's syncing to iCloud and third-party applications. However, having physical access to the phone is where the databases exist that will have the truth on deletion. So you really need to get a full file system extraction of his phone as quickly as possible. So if it's not handed over to authorities now, it needs to be, because this was over a month ago now.
Do you have to have the phone to do the extraction? What about the cloud?
Cloud data is different, and there's a lot of information there. There could be unique information in the cloud that's been removed from the phone, if anything was removed, but it's best to have both cloud and the phone to paint the entire pattern.
Matter to Heather Barnhart joining us, digital forensics expert with Cellbrite. We learned all about Cellbrite during the Alex Murdaugh trial. That's how we got everything off of his dead, murdered son's phone and the Sands Institute SS. She is one of the preeminent digital forensic experts in the country. Barnhart's analysis underscores the urgency of obtaining the phone. More than a month after Nolan's disappearance, forensic evaluation remains stalled without access.
Tatum. Obviously, we want the phone. I think you can download it from the cloud, but she's the expert. She's saying it would help to have the phone. So, don't you understand why? And I'm not saying this is true. I don't know that it's true. I don't know that that CETO call is real or fake. I don't know. It's murky. You know, Tatum, when I would try cases, especially complicated cases, I would start out the trial with a big jar full of water and silt. And I had it sitting big on my counsel table day one, right beside my Bible. And in closing arguments, the first thing I would do when I started closing arguments, I'd take that jar and shake it. And it would get very murky. You couldn't see anything. And I'd sit it down on my counsel table and argument would commence. And by the time I had gone through all the evidence, I'd go over to my table, pick it up, and say, see, it's not muddy anymore. It's crystal clear what happened. My point is, we don't know. So all the haters attacking you, attacking me, attacking the cops, attacking the friends, attacking Nolan's mother, for Pete's sake, we don't know. It's unjustified. Now, to my question. Don't you understand why people are suspicious? Because Nolan's separated from his phone, which no teen does. I get it, why he didn't have it in the water. I get that. I dive, I swim. I just went swimming with the dolphins with my twins. And yes, my phone was on the boat. But then I got it. I didn't let the boat take off without it. So
Heather Barnhart, if the phone, I don't care where it is. I don't have to have the phone to know what's on the phone. Data will exist in the cloud if he's syncing to iCloud and third-party applications. However, having physical access to the phone is where the databases exist that will have the truth on deletion. So, you really need to get a full file system extraction of his phone as quickly as possible. So, if it's not handed over to authorities now, it needs to be because this was over a month ago now. The friends on the boat have voluntarily submitted their phones for examination by the FBI, which Officer Tatum commends as an act of cooperation rare in such cases.
Nancy, I think it's because people are out putting out misinformation and they don't have the totality of circumstances because they haven't heard from the boys, didn't watch the interview and all of this stuff, and they feel that it's convoluted. It's very straightforward to me and very clear in many areas that the boys are saying they did not have access. Christine, Nolan's mother, is not saying unequivocally that things were deleted. She was surprised that things were not present. Therefore, she insinuated that things may have been deleted. But she did not really say that the phone was deleted. And the fact that they did not communicate with both sides, meaning that I wish that the Nolan Wells family would have communicated with these boys instead of me, would have talked to their lawyers instead of me, then therefore they could have gotten a good perspective. The boys made mention in the interview that I did with them that they told Christine, Nolan's mother, that they had his phone and his keys in their possession. Therefore, she came to get them. They turned them over. They have no access to his codes. They have no reason to delete his phone. They're claiming there's nothing that was deleted. They gave a fair explanation as to why he left the phone on the boat. Nolan wasn't the only individual to leave the phone on the boat. He wasn't the only black person to leave the phone on the boat. So that, to me, dispels the racial component. He was with them. Multiple boats came out. Traditionally, if you don't leave on the boat you came on, you can leave on another boat. They're all going to the same location. So it's not that bizarre that he left his phone. The phone was returned to Nolan. These are best friends of Nolan. They hang out almost every day.
Hold on just a sec.
He spent the night over their house.
Tatum, obviously, we want the phone, no. I think you can download it from the cloud. But she's the expert. She's saying it would help to have the phone. So, don't you understand why? So, at least you can admit that's why people are curious. They also reportedly submitted to voice stress analysis, though not formal polygraph tests, intended to assess truthfulness.
I hear you, but Tatum, the boat, has the boat been searched by cadaver dogs and scent dogs?
The boat, from my understanding, has not been searched, and the cadaver dogs were made available for Benjamin Crump to utilize them to do a search on the boat. They refused.
No. Crump is not supposed to use the dogs.
There is no reason to
search everything on Crump.
Listen, Nancy, there's no reason if there's not any evidence of a murder, there's no reason for them to use the cadaver dog. That's how this works.
True.
There's none of these individuals they do not have any expectation that there was any murder that occurred. It's just other people are putting that out to the world. The police department is not investigating the murder. These boys are not suspects.
I agree they're not suspects. They're not persons of interest. They're not suspects. They haven't been charged. But
to believe after interviewing 60 people that he was ever on the boat.
The search of the Triton, the Triton.
It's not
his boat.
Ordering it. He's not ordering it. The cadaver dogs were made available if he wanted to. No. They made themselves, availed themselves to him and said, would you like us to search the boat for you?
You just said that about Nolan Wells' mom. Now you said, I almost hate to do this to you. Almost. Tatum, you just said when Crump says we're available and ready, you meant, well, that's no, they haven't handed over the boat. But now you're saying the friends say our boat's available and ready, and I'm not going to tear you a new one because the law enforcement is the one that needs.
I think it's because people are out putting out misinformation, and they don't have the totality of circumstances because they haven't heard from the boys. Christine Nolan's mother is not saying unequivocally that things were deleted. She was surprised that things were not present. Therefore, she insinuated that things may have been deleted, but she did not really say that. Regarding the boat itself, the Triton, there has been no official search using cadaver dogs or scent dogs.
Nancy, the people who had questions about this, because it's definitely not law enforcement, it was Benjamin Crump. They wanted to get to the bottom. They don't trust law enforcement.
There's not a grand jury? This isn't going to grand jury?
I'm saying initially before grand jury.
Because if it's going to grand jury, then there are questions.
Initially before grand jury, when this first started, and Benjamin Crump brought up all of these questions, and they availed themselves to him and said, would you like for us to search the boat? We'll grant the cadaver dogs for you to go and look at the boat. And he refused. And this is why I'm saying it does not appear.
Give authority to search the boat.
The boys are cooperating.
I want you to run over to Tatum's house and sniff the hell out of it because it's
I would
your
say,
house.
come on over. I would say, no. I said, come on over. The cadaver dogs are made available. But then Benjamin Crump said, well, we don't want it. That's the problem here.
Wait a minute.
They are not pursuing like they claim they are.
Say, here's our boat. Come search it. Did the families offer the boat up to search?
They offered boat, phones, whatever investigators needed, whatever the family needed, they made it available. The family did not pursue any avenue to connect with the boys on any level. The boat, to talk about timeline, to communicate with parents, to communicate with lawyers, they have done nothing. And then now we find out that they haven't even given the phone over to law enforcement so they can do an extraction or a forensic investigation.
Well, stop.
But Tatum, the boat. Has the boat been searched by cadaver dogs and scent dogs? The boat, from my understanding, has not been searched. Benjamin Crump to utilize them to do a search on the boat, no. They refused. Although Benjamin Crump declined independent search resources early in investigation. Law enforcement clarifies only they can authorize such searches legally.
Hold on. Philip Dubé joining me. He is a veteran trial lawyer, a defense lawyer. He's joining me out of L.A. He practices criminal and constitutional law. Dubé, I don't want to hear either a prosecution or a defense side. A citizen cannot force a search on somebody else's boat. So Crump or Mrs. or Nolan's mother, they cannot force a cadaver dog or a scent dog search on the Triton. Law enforcement needs to bring out a cadaver dog and a scent dog. It's just real simple. It's not hard. Do you agree? They are the ones with authority to do that.
Of course. A lot of these thought leaders and crusaders, the thought leaders and the crusaders can all request it and make sure that there's an in-depth, thorough investigation, but they cannot physically and personally initiate it or enforce all the procedures that are necessary to get that underway. One thing they can do, though, is go to the DA's office and ask that it be included as part of the grand jury investigation. Because believe me, Nancy, a grand jury starts investigating and wants all of these materials, including access to the boat, access to the cell phone. It's going to happen. Otherwise, they will suffer the pains of contempt of the grand jury.
Dubé, my point is, Crump, nor Nolan's mother, nor anybody on their team can issue a subpoena or a directive or give permission for somebody else's boat to be searched. So when that was put to Crump, he doesn't have the authority to do that. He's a lawyer. He knows that. And it's not the friend's prerogative either. It's law enforcement needs to go do it.
Correct.
I can't come search your home. That would be trespass.
Correct.
Law enforcement has to do it. That's a yes, no. I don't need a legal discourse. Yes or no?
Yes.
Nancy Dubett joining me. He is a veteran trial lawyer. A citizen cannot force a search on somebody else's boat. Law enforcement needs to bring out a cadaver dog and a scent dog. They are the ones with authority. Medical examiners have weighed in with preliminary findings that remain inconclusive.
I'm trying.
From what I understand, let's go to the expert. Joe Scott Morgan is joining me, Joseph Scott Morgan, Professor of Forensics, Jacksonville State University, world-class criminal program, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on YouTube, star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan, death investigator, over 10,000 death investigations under his belt. Joe Scott, it's my understanding, correct me if you know differently, or Susan Hendricks, Dave Mack, jump in, please, feet first. Both medical examiners have stated to the effect, one says undetermined now, because we're waiting on, I think, toxicology. We don't know the answer. The second one has said undetermined cause of death. That's a yes, no. Isn't that true? We don't have a cause of death yet.
That has been made public. No. They said last week.
So
Hang on.
Tatum,
They said last week. They said last week that the autopsy report is complete, which means they have tox, histo, and they've probably got a cause of death.
Okay, but we don't have the cause of death.
We don't. It has not been released yet.
And the second examiner said undetermined.
Yeah, because he didn't have any organs to examine.
Exactly. Officer Tatum, you keep saying it was a drowning. I have responded, are you a medical examiner? You said no. So, how do you know what happened other than what you've been told? I don't know what happened.
Nancy,
I don't know if he was hit on the head. I don't know if he got...
Joe Scott Morgan, I'm trying from what I understand. Both medical examiners have stated to the effect one says undetermined. Now, because we're waiting on, I think, toxicology. The second one has said undetermined cause of death. We don't have a cause of death yet. Joe Scott Morgan explains drowning can occur under various circumstances, including accidental falls or unconsciousness following injury. and does not exclude foul play
Glad you
outright.
brought that up, Tatum. To Joe Scott Morgan, death investigator, it could be that he did drown, but that does not rule out foul play. It doesn't rule it in. It doesn't rule it out. Explain.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, drowning, just so you understand, if somebody, say for instance, has a head injury, right, and they fall into a body of water, all right, that can lead to drowning, right? Because they might still be unconscious but capable of breathing. And of course, if you're in a water environment, you're going to be taking on water. I've worked cases where water has actually been weaponized as a means to take someone's life. But I've also worked, Nancy, a lot of cases involving accidental drownings where people fall over the side of boats. I've even had homeless guys that have passed out face down in mud puddles and have drowned. You never can predict, how any of this is going to happen. All we can do in the morgue, the medical legal community, is assess what we see at that moment in time. When we're trying to look at the lungs, we're trying to look actually at the inner ear. That's one of the areas that we go to with drowning. And we try to assess the brain as well, because you can have the brain begin to swell in these certain circumstances. So there is a huge recipe that goes into this when you're trying to do a fatal diagnosis here. When you're trying to come up and make this assessment, you want to do it necessarily. I think it's best you try to do this independent of maybe what the police are saying, what friends are saying. You objectively look at the science of what's before you, and then after that, you go back in and factor in some of the circumstantial information.
You're seeing video given to us by Officer Tatum's show. Look at all the people out there. Speaking of witnesses, Joe Scott, you dead on. Thanks, Tatum. Because you know what? Somebody saw something, somebody knows something, and they are not coughing it up. And we're going to keep on until they do.
Joe Scott Morgan, it could be that he did drown, but that does not rule out foul play. Drowning, just so you understand, if somebody, say, for instance, has a head injury and they fall into a body of water, all right, that can lead to drowning. Throughout this unfolding case, public discourse often veers into speculation and suspicion. Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something, and they are not coughing it up. Christine Wells has expressed surprise at the absence of outgoing messages from Nolan while on Horn Island, but has not definitively stated data was deleted from his phone.
I have no reason to believe them or disbelieve them. This is what you told me earlier. Back to Officer Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube. Have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph. And from what was told to me, that they all passed. And all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test. Why do you say that's
from what you understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying from my understanding. They told me that all the boys except one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lie detector test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me, they all took a lie detector test and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's not a traditional lie detector test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if the people were telling the truth or not.
Did they take
Now, speaking of friends, as you call them, they also reportedly submitted phones voluntarily. The grand jury investigation underway represents a formal legal process gathering all relevant evidence.
Respiration, your blood pressure, whether you're sweating, your eye blinking, the whole kit and caboodle.
I can address why why it's certainly not admissible. Either one of these are not admissible in criminal court. Okay, and that they
Pause
have no
right there. Hold on. Before you take one more step, are you a lawyer and nobody told me? Go ahead, get mad. I don't care. You're not a lawyer. Dubé, you are a lawyer. Dubé, isn't it true that if both parties stipulate ahead of time in a criminal case, which practically never happens, but if they do, that poly is allowed in court?
If the judge deems it relevant, it still has to meet the relevance.
So then, yes, don't go off on me. The answer is yes. We both know the law. It's a yes.
It's a yes. It's a hell.
Okay, so there you go, Morgan and Tatum. I hope you have learned something tonight. That said, Joe Scott, as much as I respect you as a death investigator, don't give me the law. Don't. I'll go to Dubé for that.
I'll give you forensic science. I'll give you forensic science, and I will tell you why neither one of these tests are. Yeah, okay, because they're not quantifiable. If you look at the Fry test,
Dubé, a grand jury starts investigating and wants all of these materials, including access to the boat and access to cell phone. It's going to happen. Otherwise, they will suffer pains of contempt. Yet no public record shows warrants issued related to Nolan's phone or boat. Questions remain unanswered. If anyone possesses information about Nolan Wells's disappearance or whereabouts of his phone, local authorities urge immediate contact. This case remains active and fluid. Its complexities demonstrate how small details, like a missing phone or an unsearched boat, can stall progress and deepen mystery. What emerges next depends on facts uncovered and cooperation given. Until then, Nolan Wells's story remains incomplete. A fractured timeline and a family waiting. Consider what you've learned here. Reflect on how digital evidence and investigative rigor intersect modern cases, and weigh carefully fine line between suspicion and certainty when justice hangs in balance.